It was a chilly November night in 2022. The University of Idaho campus in Moscow, a small, peaceful town, had settled into its usual routine. Laughter still echoed down Greek Row. Finals loomed. And inside a modest three-story house on King Road, students lay asleep, unaware that it would be their final night. Kaylee Goncalves, the spirited soul with big dreams. Madison Mogan, her lifelong best friend with a dazzling future. Xana Kernadel, full of fire and laughter. And Ethan Chapin, her charming boyfriend, just visiting. But sometime between 4 o'clock and 4:25 a.m., the silence was shattered. A masked figure moved through the shadows of the house like a phantom. Armed with a fixed-blade knife, he crept room by room, leaving behind nothing but horror. When the sun rose on November 13th, the unthinkable had happened. The town of Moscow had never seen anything like it. For brutally murdered students. No signs of forced entry. 2 roommates spared, one of whom said she saw a man dressed in black walk past her room with bushy eyebrows. The internet exploded with theories. Was it a stalker? A jealous ex? A drifter? Police combed through surveillance, phone records, DNA. The house became the center of a national obsession. But still, no suspect. Until December 30th, when FBI agents, under the cover of night, arrested Bryan Christopher Kohberger at his parents' house in Pennsylvania. Bryan Kohberger was no drifter. He was a 28-year-old PhD student in criminology at nearby Washington State University. He studied the criminal mind, but the real horror? He was living just 10 miles from the victim's house. The evidence was damning. A knife sheath was found beside Madison Mogan's body. Inside it, a single male DNA trace. The investigators matched it to DNA pulled from Kohberger's family trash. His white Hyundai Elantra was seen circling the house multiple times before and after the murders. His cell phone pings placed him near the house in the weeks leading up to the killings. And Xana Kernadel's body showed signs of intense struggle. Over 50 defensive wounds. She had fought her killer hard. This was not random. This was studied. Calculated. In January 2023, Kohberger was extradited to Idaho and faced a judge. When asked how he pleaded, he stood silent, stone-faced. The court entered a not guilty plea on his behalf. The world watched as he appeared again and again in court. Still, no emotion. No explanation. No apology. His attorneys tried everything. And they filed motions to exclude the death penalty, citing his recent autism spectrum disorder diagnosis. They challenged the DNA evidence. The evidence was relentless. By mid-2025, the pressure mounted. The trial was moved to Boise, far from the small town he had haunted. And in a sudden turn of events, Kohberger changed his plea. Guilty. No trial. No jury. Just the grieving families, and a man who had turned their lives into a waking nightmare. On July 23, 2025, the victims' families filled the courtroom, their voices cracking with pain and fury. Kaylee's sister faced Kohberger and said, "You are a coward, a shadow, a ghost with no soul." Her mother? "You may escape the death penalty, but you'll never escape what you are, a predator of the innocent." Xana's aunt, through tears, whispered forgiveness. Because hate, she said, was too heavy to carry. As someone immersed in criminology, Kohberger may have viewed the murders as a live experiment. His background suggests a possible detachment from empathy, more curiosity than compassion. He could have been testing what it felt like to plan, stalk, and execute a perfect crime. The murders could have been his attempt to outsmart the system, commit the perfect murder, and then watch the chaos unfold. During the sentencing on July 23, 2025, Judge Stephen Hippler acknowledged the family's pain and their desperate need to understand why. But he issued a stark warning. By continuing to focus on why, we continue to give Mr. Kohberger relevance, we give him agency and we give him power. The need to know what is inherently not understandable makes us dependent upon the defendant to provide us with a reason, and that gives him the spotlight, the attention, and the power he appears to crave. We are now certain who committed these unspeakable acts of evil, but what we don't know, and what we may never know, is why. Even if I could force him to speak, would anyone ever be assured that what he speaks is the truth? Silence fell over the courtroom as the judge, voice heavy and almost tearing up, read the sentence. Bryan Christopher Kohberger, for the murders of Kaylee Goncalves, Madison Mogan, Xana Kernodle, and Ethan Chapin, this court hereby sentences you to 4 consecutive life sentences without the possibility of parole, and an additional 10 years for felony burglary. You shall never be free again. Kohberger didn't flinch. No tears. No words. No regret. He was led away in shackles, swallowed by the cold corridors of Idaho's maximum security prison. A man who studied killers, now condemned among them. The house on King Road has since been demolished. But the pain remains, stitched into the hearts of a town that will never forget. What makes a man plan such horror? Why those victims? We may never know. But what is certain is that evil walked through that door in November 2022, and justice finally closed it in July 2025.